We're live.
Sego, sego, suego, wahunuharado. Gasta sera gero yon yachts. Welcome, everyone. It's so good to be a part of this great opportunity. And, I'm just so excited to have so many boards involved in this. There are over 10 boards, and we have over 2,000 classes that are involved in this today. And I couldn't be more excited to share some time with our guest speaker. I wanted to take a minute and give thanks to not just the water, which is going to be our focus today, but this is maple water. And as many people know, it's time for doing maple syrup. And I collected this yesterday, and it is so good. It's considered, for the Mohawk people, it's considered to be the first medicine of the year. So I'm happy to share that little bit of information with you. But without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to our guest speaker, our knowledge keeper, Isaac Murdoch, who comes from the Serpent River First Nation. And Isaac, it's always a pleasure to spend time with you. I'm going to turn it over to you, sir, and you can take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Troy. And thank you for bringing the precious sap water from the maple tree. It's very beautiful to see that. So first off, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Even though there may be a couple of thousand classes watching, I feel like I'm talking to myself. So this should be pretty easy. So first, I'm going to introduce myself in my language. And this is a traditional greeting that we would say at a gathering or a special event. And so basically, I'm going to tell my name, my clan, who I am, where I live, and where I'm from. And so no further ado, I'll jump right into it. Ani bonjour. Mazanapkin ge go na be, bam gijikin dishnakas. Genebe guk jibiga jwat and donjaba. Gnoji and dodem. Nishinabe nini, o jibwe and dao. Nimki ajbikang ninda. Angichinden nen damyayama pi. We gnonin guk. My name is the man who paints the rocks, but not just an ordinary man, a man that can turn into an animal, which probably explains the way I am. Mazanapkan Goanabe was a name that was given to me many years ago by a medicine man when I was a small child. I come from the place where the serpents are painted on the rocks. And of course, my clan is the Gnoje, the pike clan, the fish clan. So I come from a water clan, and what that means is my family is represented by the fish. The leader of our government is the fish. I live at a place called Nimki Ajbikong, which means Thunder Mountain. And it's a beautiful place. It's in the forest. We live off-grid, meaning that we don't have like electricity from the wires. We don't have running water, those types of things. I'm Ojibwe, and I was born and raised in an Ojibwe family. And I'm very happy to be here to speak to you. And that's basically what my greeting was all about. So before we start, I just want to explain a little bit about Troy's maple water. I think that it's so fantastic that Troy brought that on, because it is our first medicine of the year. And the trees, they actually absorb all the water in the ground with their roots, and they suck that water up. And they just don't suck up the water, but all the nutrients and all of the vitamins and all of the really great stuff that the earth has to provide, it sucks it up. And then, of course, we're able to make syrup out of it. And so it's such a beautiful thing that Troy brought that on. So thank you, Troy. Water is a very special, sacred, and almost uncomprehendable thing. I mean, water is one of the most mysterious things on the earth. And I'm going to tell you why. You know, our bodies are made up of like 75% water, maybe even more, which means that our entire being, our entire person is 75% water, actual water. And the other 25% are the actual minerals from the earth and all of the compounds from the earth. So we are literally made from the earth, the water and earth on this planet that we call Mother Earth. And, you know, what's fascinating about water is that our eyes are made out of water. Our eyes are like 90% water. We look at the world through two lenses of water. How? Why? I mean, these are big questions. You know, even our heart, which is like a big water pump, sends water throughout our body, into our brain, into our arms, into our everything. And of course, water is made of oxygen. And it sends oxygen to all of the parts in our body that we need so that we're able to function and have a life. And what's really fascinating about water is that we're constantly rejuvenating. We're constantly replacing the water in our body. So for example, the water that are in my eyes right now, or in my mouth, that water is not going to be the same water. The water that's in my body goes through my system. And of course, I pee it out and it goes into the watershed. And something else will drink that water. Of course, it's purified through rocks and sand and all sorts of stuff. They're not drinking pee. But, you know, the essence of who I am will become like a family of squirrels. And they become like 75% water. And whoever I am becomes them. And that family of squirrels over time will transform into like a thundercloud. And then, of course, like a family of little white pine trees, little saplings, and then to flowers, and then maybe into fish. Like we are so connected by water, it's hard to even imagine. And water has memory. Water actually has memory. It's been proven in science. Water has memory. And it's just this like blowout science thing right now where everybody is trying to understand how and why does water have memory? And we know this because so many scientific experiments have been done, and they're saying that water remembers things. It has memory. And so I want us to look back in history, thousands of years ago, when all of the human beings were living in harmony with the earth, when we understood the original instructions on how to live here on earth, when everybody was connected to the moon and the stars and to the trees and to all of these things. You know, at that time, human beings all over the world had ceremonies and songs and dances about the water. And we believe that the water carries the memory of those ancestral voices and songs and dances, and that too is inside of us. So even though the human being, we may believe that we have a lot of things that are not good inside of us, we could be assured of one thing, that we have something absolutely incredible, amazing, and very powerful inside of our bodies. Inside of us is a celebration of life. Water is the essence of who we are, and also our path and our destiny. And when you really, really think about it, water has this incredible way of uniting people. You know, because when you look at a river, all it does, all of its life for thousands of years is give nourishment and life to everything that it comes into contact with. Water does that. A river will just never stop giving and giving and giving. That's all it does. It just gives life to everything. It doesn't have a race. It doesn't have a creed. It doesn't have a preference. It doesn't judge who it gives water to. It's like it loves everything unconditionally and just gives life to everything. And if I'm made of water, and if Troy is made of water, then me and Troy are connected because that water is like all connected through all of creation, which also means that everybody that's watching this video is also all connected through creation, through the sacred water. Nipe. That's how we say water in my language. Nipe. And so with the strong connection that we have, we can change this world in an instant. You know, the young people have the power to change the world. Young people cannot be stopped. They can't be, because young energy, there's just something about young energy. When you put out good things into the world, when you put out amazing ideas and when you go out of your way to help things, and when you speak your voice, your sacred voice, adults will listen. Adults will say, this is correct. These young people are absolutely true, and we're going to support them. There's something magical when young people speak their voice. And right now, we need your voice to speak up for the water. Because as we all know, water all over the world is being polluted at a catastrophic scale. But that doesn't mean that it can't change. There's so many places where things were so massively polluted, but people like yourselves got together and they made change, and that water is very clean now. There's nothing that says that we can't change the world. There's no law that says that. There's no political infrastructure that's in place that can stop this. When young people come together to celebrate water, it's the most powerful thing on the planet. And I'm going to tell you an old story from my village of when they went to go celebrate the water. This is called Atsukan. This is a story that talks about the spirit of things. And my people always believed that the water had many spirits living inside of it. There was the Benabe Kweak, the mermaids, the Chiginabe Guk, the serpents, Maji Pijuag, you know, the great water panthers that lived in the water, and others. There was the great, you know, Gamak, Gigoak. There was the great fishes that were chiefs, and so on and so forth in the water. And there is Zigunkwe, a very powerful spirit. And so we always believed that the water held great spirit. And so years ago, my grandfather attended a ceremony when they celebrated the water. And I'm going to tell you about this ceremony. Of course, my grandfather woke up early one morning. His grandmother said, today we're going to go to a certain spot. We're going to go to a place called, a very special place, by the way. That's called Ishpidnak, which means the high mountain. We're going to go to Ishpidnak today because there's a tunnel in that lake by Ishpidnak, and that tunnel goes into that cliff, into that mountain. And there's a great water spirit that lives there. And today we're going to go there and give offerings. We're going to celebrate. And we're going to give thanks for the water and what it gives us. We have to remember that, you know, in my culture, water was our life. We canoed on the water, we hunted on the water, we fished on the water. I mean, the waterways were our entire way of life. And we had to give thanks for that. And my grandfather said that the reason why they went there was because they take so much from the water. You know, the fish, they take, you know, they have a way of life. they're able to get nourishment and life from the water when they drink it. They make their medicines and teas out of the water. And so it was time to give thanks. And so they went to Ishpitnak, this very sacred mountain where this water spirit lives inside. And they went there and they made this very sacred bundle out of sticks. The sticks is called Zenba Metigon Sak, which means like little strips of leather and sticks tied together. And they made this like little sticks and they peeled the bark off of them and they sharpened the edges of those sticks. They made like a raft and they bundled it up and they put the shavings of the sticks in there that they peeled off and they offered it to the water. And what they did was, as soon as the ice broke up and as soon as the ice left the shoreline, that's when they walked in there in the lake up to their knees and they threw that bundle into the water and they turned around. And my grandfather said when he turned around, he could hear the water bundle splash onto the ground. And then all of a sudden he heard another splash, splash. And he looked back. He wasn't supposed to look back. You're not supposed to look back at those things. But he's seen a great big splash of water. And that water bundle was gone. And then afterwards, they had a great big feast. And they walked many miles to do this. And after the feast, they started to make a formation, a line of people. And that line of people represented a big serpent. And they went all over the mountain and all over the hill and they danced and they sang their songs and all of that, and they celebrated and they gave thanks for what the water and the spirits in the water gave them. And that's what he said he remembers a long time ago. So this would have been back in like maybe 100 years ago when this happened, which is quite a long time ago. And so in my tribe, we celebrate the water and we give offerings. The reason why they say when you make those offerings to the water, you don't look back, it's just out of respect. They say that the water spirits don't reveal themselves too much to us, and that it's out of respect that we don't look at them, that we respect them that way. We don't stare at them, but we paint them. So on the rocks at these special places, you will see pictographs, like cave paintings, like with the red paint. You'll see all kinds of cave paintings where these water spirits live. And it's just beautiful when you go there. And so for thousands and thousands of years, our people have been celebrating and honoring these water spirits. And it's a beautiful thing. And so for us, water is life. It is everything that encompasses who we are. And we believe that the greatest success that we can have as human beings is ensuring that our water is clean. Making sure that every creek and every lake, every ocean is pure. That's the highest form of success that we can have as human beings. There's not a higher form of success, simply because when that water is clean, that means this water is clean. The water that's inside of us is clean. And that's important. Everybody needs clean water. But guess what? Only like 10% of the world has clean water. Like most of the world does not have clean water to drink. A majority of the world does not. So if we have clean water, it's important to give thanks. I haven't had clean water, running water for many, many years. It's been decades. I've spent most of my life without having clean water, simply because of pollution. And so I think that, as I tell you about these things, the message is that you can make great change in your life. You can be a catalyst, a spark. You can be the very foundation that'll change everything. simply because you too have those ancestral memories inside of you. A lot of people, they focus on the bad things inside of them. Like they're grumpy or something happened or their friend said this or somebody did something on Facebook or blah, blah, blah. But you know what? That doesn't matter. When you focus on the really good parts of who you are and the celebration and the diversity of who you are, then it becomes powerful. So, I encourage all of you to, if you don't speak your languages, learn them. Learn your customs, learn your songs, your dances, because that's beautiful. Diversity is a good thing. In a diverse forest, everything gives everything to everything. A diverse forest is a healthy forest. A diverse forest is filled with water. It's just flourishing with water. Everything is absorbing water. And so being diverse is really good. It's good not just for nature, but it's also good for us as human beings. And we have to remember too, that we ourselves are an actual species in our ecosystem. We are a species of our ecosystem. There is no question. It doesn't matter if we live in Mississauga or Guelph or Orangeville or wherever we live. It doesn't matter. We're still a part of our ecosystem. Every human being is biologically and chemically connected to the earth and spiritually. Like we actually come from the earth. Physically, literally, we come from the earth. Everybody has a right to protect water. Everybody has a say in what happens to the water. And that's why your voice is so strong. And that's why I'm here today, to let you know that you have the power to change things. Nobody can stop you because nobody wants to. We need the compassion, the love, and the great energy of our young people to rise up for the world. Me and Troy can do it, but I don't know if me and Troy are going to have the same impact as you will. I'm going to probably say that me and Troy would give it a good go, but I don't think we're going to have the same impact as yous. And so again, water, it's such a great, great, beautiful thing. And I'm going to sing a song. And this is an old song that talks about, taking up the sacred, something sacred from the ground like water. And it means that it's hard to interpret in English, but it means that we're picking it up and we're holding it, and that we're receiving something great from the water. And I'm going to sing this song. And I rarely ever sing songs on videos, but apparently this is a good thing to do. So I'll do it. And I don't have my drum with me, but like every person that's innovative and intelligent like myself, I will use the table. And the song goes like this. Chapa si se so se na ge awa way hey ya yo way hey yo way hey ya hey ya way ya ho way ya yo way yo way hey yo Chapa si se so se na ge awa way hey ya yo way yo way hey ya hey ya way ya ho way yo way yo way yo. Okay, so that's a song about receiving great medicine from the water. And that was taught to me many years ago, maybe 35 years ago, 40 years ago, that was shown to me. And I never forgot that song. So remember, sing your songs, learn your songs, speak to your elders. You know, just mine them for information. You'd be surprised what they have to tell you about how to live with Earth. And so with that, I want to thank you for this part of our presentation. It's been an honor to be here. This is incredible. I wish we had more time. But I think we're going to go right into some questions. And so like
Yeah.
everybody's going to ask questions like, what are those tattoos on your face? But you know, if you have questions, shoot them out there. So moderator, please, let's do some questions.
Well, first and foremost, Nyal Goa Chimigwech for that awesome song and the stories, Isaac. It's beautiful. It's one of those things that, you know, many people know you as a knowledge keeper and a storyteller, and you know, you do such a good job, such a good job with that. And what some people might not realize is that you're also an artist. And as I'm thinking, you know, your art is around the world. And I know that you have there's a lot of your art that connects with water as well. And one of the questions that came in was how can we clean water and help protect the water? And I know some of your art helps with that, helps answer some of that and points to some directions. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so water has a tendency to clean itself. So when water is left in its natural environment, if you take what's polluting it out, then it has a way of rejuvenating itself. And so nature is constantly cleaning and replenishing itself all the time. It's just a natural law that happens on Earth. You know, so it's like if there's a real dirty forest and you clean it up, and you know you take all that pollution out of there and garbage, it just tends to thrive afterwards. Same thing with water. You know, the earth is just mysterious, and it's such a magnificent life force that it can has the possibility and the capabilities of rejuvenating and cleaning itself if we take out the garbage. And so art is a powerful way to send that message. And so, like what Troy was saying, you know, I do doodles. So I don't really call myself an artist. I do these doodles, and they kind of go all over the world, and they're used by people that are protecting the environment and, you know, things like that. So use your songs, your dance, your art. You know, maybe you're into theater, you know, or maybe you're like a real serious, awesome musician, you know, like use your gift to promote your message. You know, just the way that I do it. I do sometimes stories, art, music. You know, that's how I get my message across. Maybe you're a real good writer or a thinker or a philosopher, or maybe you're really good with politics or law. You know, use your gift. And I think that's really important because everybody has a gift. And when we apply those gifts, we make change. So believe in yourself and believe in others. That's a good question, Troy.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic question and a really good answer. I really like that response because we know in our teachings that everyone has those gifts, and we don't always know what it is. And sometimes as adults, we need to help students find those gifts and encourage those gifts. So, you know, for all the educators out there, you know, that's my call to action for them, to help students find their gifts, right? And help in protecting the waters and help use those gifts to do those things. Another question that came in that I really like is, how does water nourish life? I know you talked a little bit about it, but maybe you could go a little bit deeper.
So there's a couple of, first off, that's a really good question. There's a couple of ways where water is really needed biologically in our bodies. So because our bodies, that's a tongue twister, our bodies actually need water because it carries oxygen. H2O, hydrogen, 2 oxygen, H2O. So there's actual oxygen in the water. And oxygen is needed in our bodies and for it to replenish itself, for it to make sure that our organs are running correctly, that we get proper blood flow, and that, the blood carries the oxygen and it goes to our body. And we need the water in our body for it to function and work. If there was no water in our finger, bye bye finger, it would literally dry up and fall off. And isn't that a sight? That's why that's how it works. We need it in our body, but not just physically. Remember, I talked about how spiritually water is filled with this ancient ceremony from all over the world, and how all water is connected. It also cleanses us spiritually as well. And almost all of the faiths all around the world use water as a way to cleanse. And so it cleanses us spiritually as well, emotionally. And I remember a long time ago, the old people always said, "You're not feeling well? Here, have a glass of water. Have a drink. You're had a real bad day? Here, have some water." And you just feel better. I don't know. It just made me feel better. And so it helps cleanse our mind, our physical body, our spiritual sense. But again, it is the essence. It is the life of who we are. Even my mouth, the words that I said today would not be possible without water. Simply because if there was no water in my mouth, it would be so dry that I'd be like, "Ugh." I wouldn't be able to talk. It would be too dry. I mean, water is just, it's the essence of who we are. We have to have it. It brings us so much life. It's an absolute must. It's a part of our biology. Without it, we just cannot survive. That's a deep question. And I wish there was an actual scientist that, would be able to come on and tell this, but I explained it the best that I could.
No,
Good
I
question.
think you did. I think you did a great job, Isaac. And I think that's just it. A lot of times educators think when they're talking about Indigenous people, it's just in social studies, right? But there's so many connections that our knowledge has to science, right? And I think there's an opportunity for us to explore those two different systems of knowledge, of Indigenous knowledge and scientific knowledge, or the Western science, to bridge those together, taking some of the information that you've shared and looking at some of what the scientists are saying. I think it's fantastic. We had another great question come in, and maybe this is something that we can connect to the resource that was created. But what are some of the ideas about how we can start to begin to learn about water?
Well, I remember years ago, my grandmother would sit down with me and talk to me. And she'd say, you should go sit by the water. Go sit on a rock somewhere and sit by the water. And you'll learn about the water. The water will communicate with you. And I used to think, okay, sure, grandma, I'll do that later, but I did, I'd go sit there because you always listen to your grandma. That's rule number one in life. So anyway, I'd go sit on the rock and I'd go stare at the lake or the creek, and I would just ask questions, and just somehow, some way, you would get these messages sometime in your life that you're looking for. Water is a master communicator. Water communicates. It's amazing. Science has not quite fully reached its potential in understanding water and how it actually works and communicates all around the world. They're starting to understand it and, to realize that it does, but they just don't know how yet. But as Indigenous people, we always believe that water is our greatest communicator. And so when we sit with water, we get those lessons and we get those messages, and we're able to understand, life a lot better when we sit by the water and ask those questions. We have to remember that water has been around a long time. You know, it's been around since dinosaurs, before the dinosaurs. It's been around a long time. You know, so I mean, water knows a lot. Water is like a great, great elder, you know, that is just so beautiful, like an old grandmother that's been there for thousands and thousands and millions of years. So take the time to sit with grandma, with Nippe, with water, you know, ask questions and listen. You might be surprised. Good question, Troy. Okay, so here we have something called Exploring Art as Inspiration for Change, based on the artwork by none other than moi, Isaac Murdoch. Okay, so here we see a little tiny little person carrying a little basket with water in it, little copper basket, and there's hearts coming out of it, and there's flowers growing, and there's all sorts of cool little things. This is a piece of my artwork that I did, and it's about how young people can, you know, create such change just by being who they are, by, you know, just by being loving and caring like how little kids are. There's so many powerful teachings in that. You know, like little kids inherently know what's right and wrong. And it's just, I don't know, that's what this piece is about. I can't really explain it, but it has to do with how young people and their connection with love and making sure everything is good and safe is, you know, so important and vital for society. Okay, so how do you use this resource? Well, you share with the students each image. Teachers, you play the audio recording with each image. The artist, myself, explains why I created the image and the message behind it. There's a coloring page included. You know, we have Water Walker, which is really cool. It's just, so years ago, 2003, there was a beautiful grandmother called Josephine Mendamen. She walked around the water, the Great Lakes, thousands and thousands of kilometers with a pail of water, praying and just loving everything. And so I've created this image of Water Walker, of, you know, the great work that she's done. She passed away now, but she was a beautiful, amazing person. I knew her very well. And so this is an image of the water walkers, the ones that walked all over the water and just loved everything. And so, you know, with this resource here, there's a coloring book for little kids. They can color things. There's questions for kids that are older. It has begun. I mean, for teachers, you just kind of go through this stuff, you read it. And again, there's another water walker, you know, and again, little coloring image. There's water is life. And so there's all sorts of stuff in here that you can kind of dig into and find out more about, which is really important today, because that's what we need to do. And we are here to protect water. Again, same sort of stuff. You know, like you notice there's always a heart in my art. And I didn't realize, but that rhymes. There's always a heart in my art. And that's because we do everything with love and compassion and kindness and respect and dignity and integrity. And so, you know, that's my message also. So yeah, here's a resource. It's good. Some coloring images. Believe, you know, believe in yourself. Lift your students up. Lift your people up. You know, be good. There's enough people to like try to drag everybody down. And we know those types of people, you know, but lift people up and make them feel good, because the world gets stronger and better when we do that. And so this resource, teachers, you can dive into this and, you know, get the kids to do it. It's a good thing. It's fun. There's all sorts of questions that they can find out, like how are birds affected by cities and skyscrapers? Why is it important to believe in one another and unite in helping for the environment? Like, these are really good questions that kids need to dive into and try to understand. So with that, I think that we are going to show an amazing video that my beautiful partner Shannon made with Jody Williams. And I thought it would be a very eloquent and very beautiful way to end our conversation today, to end our time together, by having Shannon say this beautiful piece for us before we say our Bama peas, our see you laters. And so at this time, let's listen to Shannon. It's beautiful.
Its purpose Nibe, water. Water is what gives us life and cleanses us. It helps everything move out of our bodies that doesn't need to be there. It does the same thing to our minds and our emotions as well. It also helps the earth. The water is connected to the spirits in the sky and ground below us. It talks to everything and understands everything. Its purpose is to help all it comes into contact with to grow healthy. When water turns into steam from the sacred fire, we breathe it in. We know it as the breath of life. They say it's the breath of the Creator. We thank the great mystery for this breath of life. Water is sacred. It's a part of us and it connects us to the earth, our mother. Water is what sustains us, and one of the greatest sacrifices we can make is to go without water when we fast for our vision. These visions bring great knowledge to our people. We all need water to survive. We all depend on it and are pitiful without it. It is a gift. When mothers are pregnant, they carry the baby and water in their bellies. And when that water breaks, the baby is born and new life on earth begins. Water is our first teacher, medicine. When we release tears, those water droplets from our eyes nourishing new life somewhere, and new life also begins for us. Water also helps nourish the spirit within us and the cycle of life to continue. Water is sacred. Water is life.
Wow. Wow. I just love that. That just gives me the chills, to hear that,
Exactly.
just to hear that beautiful, beautiful thing. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. It's been a really special time for me. I'm very thankful to be here. It's been an honor, and I wish all of you great health, happiness, help, and understanding in your journey. And hopefully we meet again very soon. I want to thank the organizers for putting this together, all of the teachers and all of the school boards involved. Chimigwichwagom, I thank yous, and we'll see you again soon, I hope. I want to do this again sometime. Troy, do you have any last words?
No, I think you wrapped it up just fantastically. I love that video. And again, I just extend my appreciation to you, Isaac, for spending this time with us and sharing your knowledge and experiences in that good message, right? It's such an important thing. And I thank all my colleagues who helped organize this and bring us all together. So, Yawagoa and Onigawahi.
See you, everybody. Be safe and be good to each other. Naho. Talk to you later.